when Joy told Anxiety that you need to let go of O'Reilly, that's the part that probably hurt me the most in the film, because I mean that's what I relate to the most. I mean that's why my anxiety. I mean that's why I have anxiety. It doesn't want to let go. It wants to be in control. It doesn't like the fact that it can't control everything, and that's the part that we just need to understand, that we're unable to control everything. Hey, I'm Mariah, and I'm a filmmaker, and an ADHDer, and a writer, and a woman who deals with anxiety, and a photographer, and, okay, you get the picture. Hey, I'm Mariah. Did I say that already? And I'm a storyteller who cares a whole lot about mental health. A lot of times, we often separate storytelling and mental health from each other. Honestly, we tend to separate mental health from everything. But I find these two to go hand in hand. When you're telling a story, that point is to connect with your audience. On a deeper level, check this out. Connect with their mind. Storytelling is everything. Movies, music, video games, art, all of it. And mental health has a lot to offer too. Depression, autism, PTSD, and so on. I'm on a mission to understand and learn more about both storytelling and mental health. Whether it's digging deep into mental health disorders, checking out the psychology of characters from all over, dissecting the power of music on our emotions, hearing the personal stories of creatives, my goal is for us to be more seen, heard, understood, and learn who we are. Welcome to my podcast, Everything Storytelling, plus Mental Health. This is your host, Mariah Nasir, and let's dive right into it. But getting into our personal stories with rejection, I'll just start out with some we already mentioned some already, but the first one I would like to bring up is this podcast. For example, I was having extreme anxiety before I even started this podcast. I'm just being honest with y'all. I literally was sitting down on my carpet and crying, thinking, no one's gonna like this. No one's gonna like to hear my voice. I am annoying. I don't make sense. I'm gonna be too vulnerable. No one's gonna see it. I don't really have too much people or know too much people who are gonna listen to it. I was just sitting there and with a huge amount of anxiety and also just low self-esteem. I just felt that whole beliefs, that whole, I guess, sense of self Riley had, saying I'm not good enough. It was loud in my head as well right before I started this podcast. I felt that way. It was just bad. And how did I get through that? I'm not 100% sure how I remember getting through that. It was just a matter of me finding the community. I talked to my friend. I have my life coach. I am in a bunch of neurodivergent Facebook groups, and I was saying I was honestly said hey, I'm starting a podcast and I don't know if I should really do this and stuff like that. I'm too anxious, and people hey, I would listen and stuff. Because I remember beforehand I was sharing my podcast just with people I know on Instagram. I never heard too much, and so I was already feeling that rejection already, even though my episode wasn't even out. So that was that was just my first example with the whole rejection in the podcast. But as I kept doing this podcast, now we are on episode 7, I don't really have that whole anxiety as much anymore in regards to this podcast. And it's just it's fun now. It's nice. I mean, it was fun. The whole plan was for it to be fun, but beforehand it was just outside my comfort zone, because this is me being vulnerable, talking, and instead of me keeping my thoughts and stuff to myself, this is me being vulnerable and talking. So that was just the first example. And then it seemed like you want to say something. Did you want to add in?
No, you go ahead. You finish your story. I'm just
Okay, cool.
I'll share my story. It's
Okay,
similar
cool.
to yours.
Okay. So another example is some of my art, my creative stuff, getting others to read my scripts. I remember I went so hard. I went all in on the script I wrote, and then I kind of mentioned this on one of my first episodes, but after I wrote it and I had like people read it, it was in a film club. Everyone was really I won't say criticizing. That's a negative word. They were just really, I guess, critiquing more of my script. And I didn't see it that
Mm.
way. I felt like a rejection. And I was like, oh my gosh, my script is terrible. That means I'm a bad writer. And I remember crying. I cried after
Oh.
that. And then like another example was with me is um I mean there were a lot of times as well I would like had the opportunity to sing and stuff. Um I remember when I was a kid, I was so anxious to sing in front of people. I didn't look at them. I looked back like this and just sang. I never looked at the people. That was
Oh.
so bad at that point, but I remember I just always had like this type of anxiety when singing in front of people. And I just remembered it wasn't exactly in front of people, but I had to audition for this team and I really wanted to be part of it. It was at college. It was an a cappella group and I remember I was auditioning for it and then I was like, oh, I know this is good. I'm going to make it. And then I didn't make it. And I was like, dang, I must be a bad singer. So it didn't really help it didn't help my self-esteem, but I try to remember I sang in front of other people before. And I remember when I was like even before that time, like when I was in high school, sang at this running camp like during the talent show, and I sang and everyone was applauding me and stuff, even though I was running. Well, I was singing on anxiety a little bit. I was the middle. I think I just felt like joy and anxiety were like fighting in my head,
Oh.
like they were
Oh,
fighting
yeah,
over the
yeah.
control. And because I love to sing,
Yeah,
but I was so
relatable.
scared. Anxiety is like, no, this is gonna be terrible. She can't sing in front of all these people. What if she mess up? And joy is like in my head, but she
Oh.
loves to sing. Like let her just do this. That was in my head. I did mess up on a few notes while I was singing in front of all those people, but everyone still applauded and stuff. So when I like look back on that stuff, I'm like, Mariah, you're not a bad singer. But there are plenty of times I auditioned. It wasn't that's not the only place I auditioned. I remember auditioning for plays and musicals, other like singing type of groups. I remember auditioning for this this middle school in the arts, and I wanted to get into it so badly. I didn't get in, and I think that was before I ever actually got an acting role. And so before that, I was like, oh my gosh, I'm not a good actor. I'm not good at singing because I was pretty much rejected a lot from a lot of acting parts and some singing
Oh,
parts
yeah, I
as
can
well.
imagine.
Um,
Yeah.
and then I remember like a few years later in eighth grade, I did this monologue. I wrote it. I directed on my own basically, and I acted in it. And I won. So, so it was, you know,
Hey!
it's just, so it's like, all right, it's just like, I guess this is like an example of just seeing that, you know, rejection, you know, I might get rejected now, but it doesn't mean I am a rejection. And it also doesn't mean I will always be rejected. There will be an opportunity for me.
Yeah.
Um, so those are just some examples. I also would give my very specific example outside of the creative field, but specifically with my running. I already talked about it a good amount, so I won't go all deep into it. But like I
Mm.
said, I was really good at running in middle school, high school, college. I was really good at it. And I started when I was like 8 years old. And it was basically my identity. Um, I feel like that's basically
Mm.
what everyone kind of saw me as. Every time somebody, like a stranger, would walk by me, they're just like, "Oh, you're the track star, or you're the runner." Like, yeah, do you know my name? All right,
Yeah.
all
Yeah.
right. This is me now, like looking back on it. But you know,
Yeah,
it's
yeah.
just that's kind of what people saw me as. I'm introverted, as I said before. Like I said in like the previous episode as well. I'm autistic. I have ADHD. I am shy. I'm quiet. I really was hard to make friends with people. And so the only thing that really, I guess, got people's attention was my running, and it felt good. I was getting attention from people for my running. I mean, and that was the only thing I really enjoyed about running. I know there was a time I really enjoyed running when I was really young, but it's kind of hard to remember that now.
Mm.
Because I mean, it was basically I feel like I got distorted by anxiety and pressure and all that stuff.
Mhm.
And so I just remember too, and I just remember too, as I before like I started races, I would get so scared. I would almost cry. I
Mm.
think there were times I cried before I started a race, and I don't know if I was actually having a panic attack or anxiety attack. I know I never
Mm.
really breathed heavily, but oh my gosh, I was shaking. I just thought I was being nervous, but I definitely think it was more than just me being nervous now when I look back on that. I was definitely having
Mhm.
some real anxiety stuff going on before. I mean,
Mhm.
I was having this before any race I had, to be honest, after a while. And it
Oh,
was
that's so
exhausting.
exhausting. Yeah, that was the word I was thinking,
Yeah.
yeah.
Um And so it was just at that point, I can I didn't really enjoy running to begin with. And like I said, I think there was a time I did enjoy it when I was younger. But
Mm.
it just competitively wise, it was not fun for me. And
Mhm.
so I just like bring up this example. Um, I was scared to do bad races. I was scared I would do bad. I would do bad at I'll just start over. I was scared I was going to do bad at races, and I was scared to stop running because then I would be alone. Just like how Riley was afraid of being alone. Um, like if I, for the longest time, like I had in my head, like I want to stop running, but what would happen if I stopped running? People are not gonna like me. People are gonna unfollow me off of Instagram. And eventually, yeah, guess what? I stopped running, and people did follow me off of Instagram. So at the time, I was really feeling rejected, to be honest. Um, a lot of people, a
Yeah,
lot of
that's tough.
runners were unfollowing me off of Instagram. Um,
Mm.
but now I'm like, I mean, that's not who I was. I mean, that was something I did, but that doesn't define who I am. Um, and
Exactly.
so I think just in general with my life as well, and this is very common for people who have ADHD, for sure, but it's called RSD, which is rejection sensitive dysphoria, and it's a really extreme type of rejection, um, especially those who have ADHD have. And mine was pretty much through the roof, and that's probably why I struggle a lot with just any type of rejection. Can be like just somebody saying no, I can't hang out today, to all the way like doing bad at races, and then people maybe getting mad at me and stuff like that. That's how it just ranged from littlest to like big things, or not getting into the school I wanted. um,
Mm.
and I saw this quote from one of the videos I watched, and basically a good definition of it is the tendency to anxiously expect, readily perceive, and intensely react to rejection. It's very common, like I said, for people who are neurodivergent, and so it's something that I am still basically like working on and learning, because
Mm.
like I said at the beginning of this episode, I have been dealing with a lot of rejections um this week, with stuff. And so it's just like I said, I can go into it, but it's just very like deep and intense, like rejection. It's like a sharp pain, honestly. When
Doesn't
anxiety
feel
yelled
good.
to It doesn't. When anxiety yelled to Riley, "You have to score or this will all be for nothing." I definitely can relate to that scene, because I just imagine myself placing myself in Riley's shoes, but me on a track or on a cross country course, and my anxiety yelling, saying, I have to win this race, or I have to beat this certain time, or it's all going to be for nothing. Everyone's going to be mad at me. Um, you
Mm.
got to do this. I mean, that was
Mhm.
kind of what was in my head. basically at this point. There was nothing positive.
Mm.
And I remember as I got
So
older, running got harder for me because it was easier when I was younger, and it got harder for me. My running, winning races or beating fast times were not as consistent. Um, and so, anyways, that part with anxiety, saying that to Riley just hit home with me, because
mm,
that was something that literally was going through my head as I was running.
mhm,
So all those rejections from my past made me believe, honestly, I just like like Riley's Riley's thoughts said, I am not good enough. And I just realized how much is a universal thing. I was watching one of these videos and they're saying not good enough is just like so universal and we can all relate to. And I just definitely think Inside Out 2 did a really good job sharing that in the movie because that's something we all can relate to. And feeling not good enough definitely derives from being rejected so much in our lives. Um,
mm.
and that's all I got. My thoughts on
Yeah,
that.
no, thank you for sharing, by the way. It's such an insightful like approach to your story, and thank you. I feel like I know you more now, and it's just so brave and vulnerable of you and to share that. So thank you. It makes me more comfortable to share my rejection stories too. So thank you so much.
Yeah.
And at the end of the movie, it is nice that the sense of self that I'm not good enough, it is replaced by a more complex one, which is good because humans are complex. Like I can be
Mm-hmm.
selfish. I'm a good person. I'm a good friend. Sometimes I need help. I need to fit in, but I want to be myself. And I think we are full of contradictions and it is okay. So
Mm-hmm.
just wanted to share that. Is this a good time to share my rejection
Oh yes,
stories?
please. I am ready to hear
Yes?
yours.
Okay.
Yes.
Yeah, okay. So I was as you were sharing yours, I was like, okay, okay, which ones do I what do I share? Well, because there's a lot I went through like before, like a lot of rejection there's instances I went through before medical school stuff even went into my brain. Um I guess the first one like is that I also sing like you, but I was always ashamed of my voice. I never thought it was good. As some people say, like I rejected myself before others even rejected me. I remember my sister and I put on a show in front of our parents, and I was so scared of sounding bad in front of my parents that I couldn't even start singing. I just went into my room and started crying, and they had to calm me down. And I never performed in front of them because I just thought I sucked, I call it self-rejection, really. And it just kind of manifested in the future too. And only now, I think I'm starting to realize, oh wow, okay, my voice is actually not that bad. Like, and I have family members who supported me going into a studio to record cover songs, which is probably one of the most anxiety wrenching, like nervous things I've ever done. Like you said, it's not the during that's even this is the most anxious, it's the before like the before like okay I have 2 hours so it's 2 hours to the studio 1 hour to the studio like it's just so nervous but I did go and it did really help me build confidence so in a way it's not like it's not the don't it's about it's easier said than done of course but it's about not letting rejection define you but also like letting the reaction to rejection define your future steps and because it really you grow I grew a lot from that and I gained confidence and knew that I could sing and now it's not perfect I still get super nervous but I know that I can handle it because I handled it before and
Mm-hmm.
the fear of that at least when I was going into the studio and then that's kind of one thing and then second I'm from an immigrant family we're not from Canada so when I moved here and I went to school. Oh, it was so stressful. Like the first 2 years of my school, like it was grade 5 and 6. I went to grade 5 and 6. That's my first 2 years of Canada. In Canada, I was going to those grades, and um, I didn't speak the language, and people didn't know my name, so they just referred to me as the Russian girl, and it felt like, and it's not like they were mean to me outright, but also I did really feel left out and it's like they did sometimes like when we were playing on teams like during gym. I remember I didn't understand what I was asked to do because, you know, I was still learning the language and they're like, whatever, never mind. And it's not like and they try to explain it to me and also they just but also the fact that they dismissed me and a person who's at heart, like by default, a people pleaser, and I want to be liked and I want to have friends. And it felt like a very, I felt very alone. Luckily, I did meet people who also spoke Russian, and that helped me kind of develop a friend circle. And like especially like we were living in the apartments, and then near the apartment building we were living in, there's other Russian kids running around, so I kind of made friends with them. But during school it was tough because I felt like I was rejected by my peers, and then my grades weren't good either, because well I didn't know, and I was used to getting better grades where I was coming from. I was an A student, and now here I was not, no matter how hard I was trying. So for me, that was really about like adjusting, and it was difficult. Eventually, I did learn. Like in grade 7, 8, I started getting good grades, but the fact that like it did happen, like grade 5 and 6 were really tough for me. I think the biggest turning point, and I'm still kind of I'm proud of myself for doing that, is we had a pie contest, not like eating
Mhm.
pies, but like the number pi, if you remember. Yeah, like we all
Mhm.
know number pi, and there's like it's basically infinite, right? There's so many numbers in it, like 3.14, and it just goes like forever. And there was a contest for people to memorize the numbers, and by each grade you would be given a prize if you win in your grade. And I don't know why, but I decided to go all out on it. I was like, okay, you know what? I feel like a complete failure. I'm not getting the grades I want. My parents are really like conservative, so they're like, why are you not getting the grades? And they were trying to be understanding, but sometimes I felt the pressure from them too. So I'm like, okay, you know what? This is a chance to prove to myself, to prove to others that I can do it. So I really went all out, and I basically memorized, I think it was about 70 something numbers that I memorized for pi. And I was not only just the winner for the grade, I think I was the winner for the school. And even though it didn't boost my grades, even though like it didn't make my report card better, it didn't give me more friends. But it did fill me up with that confidence boost that I was missing for 2 years since I moved to Canada. Like the teachers were shocked, and they were like, but they were also like impressed. And the fact that I got it, I think for me that showed, okay, I'm not a not that I have not that you have to win a pie contest to not feel like a complete failure, but for me personally, that really helped me believe in myself again.
Mhm.
And now that I look back, it's I would tell my younger self, obviously you don't need this pie contest to know how good you are, but like be patient with yourself, give yourself time, because I was going through a rough patch as well. And I was like 10, 11, and it's hard because I already felt like I was an outsider. So but eventually, and I think that kind of that feeling of still being an outsider that still stayed with me even after I started getting grades. I started getting like English speaking friends because my English did start to get better, even though it did have like an accent, and I still have an accent, I know that. But that feeling of feeling like an outsider, I think it never fully went away. It's always
Mhm.
in there with me, but at least I'm aware of it, and I can tell myself you're doing good things. And it's not always good to it's not like you don't have to fully fit in. Like you can show your uniqueness, and it's okay to stand out. So before I didn't like when people told me I have an accent, but now I kind of like, thank you. Like, yeah, I do have an accent. I'm from this place, and I'm embracing my culture, where I come from. And it's definitely a work in progress. It took me many years to come to that, but it did feel that way. And then that's kind of my rejection experience as well. And I remember as you were sharing your story, I was trying to remember when did I have my first panic attack? Did it happen when I was studying for med school? And then I remembered actually my first one was actually in high school. I think I was 16 or 15, and I was in this super difficult chemistry AP class, and some people dropped out because it was hard, and I don't blame them because it was like really hard. It was like college level, and we were 15-year-olds doing a college level course. That's what it felt like. And it was terrifying. People were who got 90s in their class, usually they got 60s or like lower. So it was really a learning curve for everybody. But at one point when we were writing a quiz, and it was a simple quiz, it wasn't like a test, it was like a quiz for like 20 minutes. I remember I failed the quiz. I Even though I knew the material, I failed the quiz because suddenly I started like feeling like I'm sweating, my vision was blurry, all those symptoms kind of came. And I remember that faded later, and I was like, what the heck was that? What did I just feel? Because that was so weird to me. That was the first time, I think. And I never made anything of that. So I'm like, okay, whatever. And it did continue happening on a lower scale in like grade 12 because I took on a lot of commitments. I was really overwhelmed with like I'm that kid who was like in student council, AP classes, and and I think at one point and certain points I was like, I'm not gonna go to class and not do this exam. I'm just gonna say I'm sick and I'm gonna go home because I did have that feeling of panic and anxiety. So and again, I never really made anything of that. I thought it was just like whatever, that's just normal. I still got good grades because even though I didn't show up to class to do exams, like I could still do them after school after, and the teachers liked me because they saw I was working hard and they didn't push me too much and I was still getting good grades. But um yeah, and now that I think about it, it really does add up and explain what I went through with medical school. In medical school and being a doctor, I tied that to my identity since I was like 13. And that's not healthy because I mean, it's good to have goals. It's good to have something you go towards. It's good to go to things like I wanted to help people. That's admirable. It's good. But I think I was so into tying my identity, my future self to that image that I had for myself.
Mhm.
Ooh, studying to be a doctor. That the closer I got to that, the more anxious I felt, and the more it felt like oh my god, like what I'm doing now is going to decide the rest of my life. And it's crazy because what like I'm in my 20s, like I have so much ahead of me. Life is not linear, but the fact that I did
Mhm.
that really added to my anxiety and really added to that fear of rejection that I was experiencing. And yeah, so and then like I was doing good during undergrad mostly, and then like came time for applying to medical school, and I wrote the MCAT 3 times. That was hard because no matter how much I studied, I tried working hard, I worked smart and did the different strategies that people suggested. I still was like really like I still had a really low score. Um, and I'm not saying that, oh my God, like you're probably one of those kids who are like 90 and you got like an 80 and you think that's low. No, like it was really low. Like I'm not that like it was really low. It was like below average, and people usually with those scores, it's very rare that they get in. They must really have amazing application to get in. So I still applied. I was thinking, you know what, I do have research experience, I do have like things I different like that I did. Maybe they might at least grant me an interview, and by the interview they'll meet me, maybe they'll like me and they'll still get me accepted besides just despite my MCAT. But then there's also a professionalism ethics test that we did. And for some reason, I don't know, maybe I was burned out. It's part of the application to medical school. Maybe I was burned out, but I got really low on that too. And I'm like, wow, okay. And I actually studied for it because most people don't like study on it, but there's this
Mhm.
consulting firm, and I was doing everything I could really. And even during that time, I had thoughts in my head that was like, okay, I don't know if this is for me anymore. Like, I don't know if medicine is for me because I was starting to see articles, what's going on in the world. What different I started learning about the different careers, and while I was doing all of this, I was also having those doubts if I even want to be a doctor, even before I got my rejection. So I think I had those thoughts way before. And then, when rejection for medical school happened after like the MCAT and this professionalism ethics test, I was like, whatever, this is just a cherry on top. This not meant to be, I guess. And then I dislocated my kneecap before my last MCAT attempt, which is like, okay, this is just great. It's my knee's fine, by the way. I always make sure to say that because some people are concerned. So
Yeah.
my knee's fine. I went to like physiotherapy. It's okay. But yeah, so a lot of stuff went into just being rejected from medical school once, like a lot of different elements go into that. But yeah, that's my rejection experiences.
Well,
That's a
thank you
lot.
so much for. I know, but I mean, listen, mine too. I mean, just in general life, so many rejections.
Mm,
I thank you so much for like sharing your
of
stories
course.
as well, and just rejections in general. I just like your hearing your stories just reminds me a lot about I guess what happened in my life as well, and it's just like
Mhm,
a good
mhm.
reminder that I'm not like the only one who has felt this way. It's okay, Mariah. Like
Oh,
I'm
no.
just not the
Yeah,
only
it's
one, and
universal.
it's just yeah, very universal. And if I really
Mhm.
felt like, especially a lot of those stories I was explaining, it really felt like it was just me, honestly. Because I mean,
Yeah, yeah.
people just acted like it's in your head, or you just gotta just get through it. I don't know. Like
Yeah,
I
yeah,
just
and
didn't
I
feel
guess
that way.
that's what yeah, and I guess that's what I'm trying to do with this podcast because, yeah, I did go through all these rejections, but and they did suck, but also they made me who I am. And I, without my rejection from medical school, I wouldn't start this podcast. And this podcast has led me to meeting so many people, doing so many things, and learning so many new skills that I wouldn't otherwise have learned. And the rejection actually taught me to focus on myself and my mental health. It really pivoted me in the right direction, I think. So I'm really, and I don't know, I don't want to portray toxic positivity here because rejection does suck, but
Mm-hmm.
viewing it as a bit of an opportunity and part of your story, I think does help deal with it and deal with the fear of rejection.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Exactly. I agree. Definitely
Hmm.
agree with that. I'm gonna start talking about now just some ways to like manage our anxiety. I don't know exactly what Riley was doing. I thought she was doing the grounding technique, but I was watching one of the videos and it says she wasn't doing that during her panic attack. When she like had her
Mm.
hand on the surface or bench, I thought that was grounding, but they said something and I don't
Yeah,
know
the
what it was.
tactile, like
That's what it
touching
was.
the
Okay.
bench
Oh,
to kind
okay.
of center yourself in like real life,
Mhm.
like in the
Oh,
present. And then
okay.
her friends came to support her too.
Yes.
That really helps kind of
Yeah.
get it
Yeah.
together a little
Mhm.
bit.
Exactly. But yeah, grounding is a I mean, I guess I don't know, grounding is the same thing as I guess like what you just said, tactile, right? Is that what you said?
Yeah, like she was touching
Yeah.
the bench and it really showed emphasis
Yeah.
on that, how she did it, and it really
Exactly.
helped her. And then I think at the end she was breathing more like because when she was having the attack, she was like, like she was really
Mhm.
breathing like very
Mhm.
short breaths and she wasn't really,
Mhm.
yeah, properly breathing, I think. And then at the end, she was like she was really
Mhm.
kind of regulating her breath and that helped her get back to that
Mhm.
normal state. So
Mhm.
that's what I
Exactly.
remember.
Yeah, that was also my other one, just like breathing and trying to just breathe in and out
Mhm.
like that.
Yeah.
I think those are two good. I When you're like really feeling some extreme anxiety, it's like, especially for me, it's like my two go tos at the
Mhm.
moment, because it slows down. First of all, it just slows down all of that high energy going inside you, and then that grounding helps you come back into like reality and like the present moment, because you doesn't feel like it, just kind of feels like, I don't know how to say, like exactly, like time stop and you're just kind of in this spinny like little
Yeah,
tornado,
you're
I
just
guess, how anxiety.
spiraling,
Yes,
like
yes, everything is just
yeah.
spinning around you. You don't feel like you're really in the moment at all. You don't feel like you're in the moment.
No.
It's just like things are just spinning around you. I guess I
Yeah.
won't even say time has stopped. I think you're really like looking at this imaginative, like very futuristic, that's not really real.
Mhm.
Just spinning all around you. All these scenarios are spinning around you, and you're freaking out, and you don't know what to do. You're just scared. You're just sitting there,
Mhm.
which is like a good example of how the movie kind of portrays that in a way, with anxiety spinning around like that. But I think
Mhm.
like going back to the techniques, grounding and breathing is a good way to take you out of that whole spiral and make you present in the moment and slow down all that high energy going inside of you. So
Mhm.
I mean, that's definitely it for like when you're really feeling anxious. Also, like some other tips as well is like journaling and reflecting. Now, a lot of this I do when I'm not high anxious, like because when you're high anxious, you can't. It's like hard to do that. But beforehand, and
No.
sometimes maybe
Yeah.
after, yeah, or afterwards, I would start doing some like reflecting, like asking my anxiety. Like one time I was starting to feel anxious, right? And I was asking
Mhm.
my anxiety, okay, is this happening now? And most all the time, anxiety is going to be like, well, no. And it's like, okay, is there any specific evidence that that is 100% going to happen? And you
Mm,
get 100%. You gotta say 100%. Not 75, 80, 60, because it is definitely most of the time answer. It's not gonna be 100%. I don't think it's any. I
mhm,
don't think it's any time it's gonna be. My anxiety is gonna say 100%. It's like, oh, okay, exactly. So, and that honestly, when I guess I'm being reasonable with myself, and it tells it just. I guess I'm just being more realistic now. Like, okay, you're right. I calm down a little bit. Like, you're right. And it helps me to just, I guess, get back into the flow instead of sitting into that anxious state, feeling like I have no control over anything. So that's just like that's my specific example of like how I reflect on things. And sometimes I would write it out because one time that helped as well. I would write it out. Or sometimes if I don't have anything, I would just ask myself these questions in my head. But either way, that's what I basically do. I also just
mhm.
like to make sure how I feel. Like again, if I'm feeling very very anxious, like I can't do anything, then it's the grounding and breathing, which is usually when you're close to like attacks or you're having an attack or something like that. But if you're
Mm,
just feeling
mhm.
like anxious at the moment, it's like overwhelming. I'll call that more in the yellow phase. Then that's
Mm,
where you can probably start reflecting and telling yourself that. Sometimes too, I would say like I would maybe be in the green, but I can start feeling like the anxiety coming in. I would just stop. That's when it's hard because I can feel it building up. So I guess it's green, almost yellow. It's hard to stop, but whatever I'm doing, I just tell myself to stop, go and do something fun. Um,
mm,
because most of the
mhm, mhm.
time
I agree.
it just goes away when I do that. So I basically just stop what I'm doing, do something fun, rest, go out for a walk, play a game, watch TV, draw, talk to a friend, do something. Just stop, go back to that later on. Um, and most of the time,
Mhm.
it's that is really nice because when I do get back into it, I'm more in the right head. Because if I keep doing, it, I'm gonna get anxious, and then I'm not gonna fill out stuff correctly in a good way or anything like that, or
Yeah.
just do things in the correct way. And so that's basically my techniques, and then I'll add in the creative skills like you mentioned earlier in the episode, but writing, drawing. I like to do a lot of. I'm starting to get into some creative writing, like doing poetry and stuff. That I might share a poem, in regards to rejection at the end of this episode. But I've started to get into like creative writing with that, like poetry. I'm also working on my script and working out my characters who are very similar to me is a great way to kind of bring that
It's
energy
awesome.
in that, yeah. And it's singing as well. I have like these specific playlists for my moods. I have an anxiety playlist, specifically angry playlist, sad playlist. But when I'm feeling
I
anxious,
love it.
I will go into that anxiety playlist. I even have anxiety's face like on an face icon on Spotify on the playlist. Yes, I have it on there. I go on there
I
and I just
love
like
it.
I. Uh-huh. And it's called like it's okay anxiety, everything's gonna be all right, or something like that. And then I just go in and play all my like music and I start singing and I'm like, thank you, thank you. And I just feel better. Um those are
Amazing.
my
I
creative
love that.
ways.
The commitment.
Yes. Yes. I also want to do some painting, but like I haven't, I need to get into that more. I like to do a lot of things. But
No,
I
that's
feel like
good.
too,
You're
if you're
well
like into
rounded.
painting, yes, if you're really into painting as well, I feel like it's a good way to like just kind of. I think it's really calming. Like
It
for me,
is.
for me, I'm kind of stressed because I'm trying to make it perfect, and this don't
Uh,
listen to me.
all
But
right.
I know I heard from
Yeah.
most people that it's relaxing to just
Y-
like use the brush and
Yeah.
doing all that. So, anyways, those are my
Yeah. For
tips.
me, yeah, for me, it's not painting. I do therapeutic coloring. It's like there's coloring books, and I just do that.
Ooh.
And I see after that it's not perfect, but I put on some like calming journaling or meditative music, and I start like coloring, and I can do that for like an hour or an hour and a half, and then I usually get tired. But that helps me kind of, that helps to ground me. But I really like what you said about journaling. When I'm really feeling anxious, I cannot journal. It's just gonna make it worse
Mhm.
for me.
Mhm.
Like I need to, I journal when I feel like I'm confused or I need more clarity. That's when I journal
Mhm.
because I find that it
Mhm.
comes out on the page what I should do.
Mhm.
That's, and that is a really good technique, but not something I do when I want to ground myself, when I'm about to really feel nervous about something. And like you said, breath work is important, and just kind of sitting with it and just like, okay, I feel anxious right now, and kind of accepting it and not judge yourself
Mhm.
for it.
Mhm.
Okay, and then like you said, like go for a walk or watch a movie or watch some YouTube shorts. I don't know, whatever works for you. Um, get yourself away from that, whatever thing you were doing that was might have contributed to you feeling, like anxious or nervous and stressed, and then come back to it later, with a more fresh perspective. So yeah, for me, it's therapeutic coloring and journaling for getting some clarity. I also find that I like singing, but I only recently got into songwriting. And I was I was feeling there's some tension I have with some people in my life, and and I remember waking up one day and I'm like, I don't want to journal about this because I already know how I feel about this. I don't want to journal. And I'm like, okay. And I had a dream that night. It's like, why don't I write a song? Like, well, I had a dream that night when I was singing. I was singing. So I woke up with like the idea of me singing. So I'm like, how about write it? And I wrote it, and I'm not gonna publish it because it's still pretty raw, and um and it's just like my emotions, but it really helps me. So whenever I feel frustrated about the situation I have with people,
Mhm.
I listen to that song again and it just kind of calms me down because I really like how I framed that song and I'm really proud of it. So like, okay, you know what? At least one good thing
Yes.
comes out of this tension with the people.
Yes.
I came with a song that I
Yeah.
like, and it was a really nice way of like self-expression. And I find that when inspiration hits and you kind of feel it because it's just like you really feel like you're in the zone and you're invested, don't push
Mhm.
yourself away from it. Let yourself get into that zone, see what comes out of it, and you don't have to be like a completely finished perfect product, but if it's something that made you feel good, and and it's just something that does really express how you feel, there is value in that. um
Mhm.
yeah. And then for other things, I do like taking walks. I find they're really grounding as well, and they really give a fresh perspective. I almost always feel lazy to go for a walk, but whenever I do, I'm like, wow, that was so good. That was so great. That was really refreshing. And then I try to do yoga on a daily basis. I like it because it's like a middle ground between a workout, which is good for you, like good for your physical health, but it's also kind of had this spiritual aspect to it, like a meditation sort of type thing. And it kind
Mhm.
of combines it into one. And you feel very calm after it, but also you feel like you've stretched your body, and you feel like it contributes to your physical health as well.
Mhm.
What else? I said yoga, journaling, meditation, walking. I think I've listed a lot of it, and I think just having working on your root core belief that like of having self compassion, and self compassion for me means I'll be there for myself no matter what happens.
Mhm.
I'll figure it out no matter, and that leads to the thought that I'll figure it out no matter what happens. Because if I have my back, I know I'll be okay, and I won't judge myself
Mhm.
for it. I think that's what having self-compassion is about, and I feel like that's a really good, if you have self-compassion, managing anxiety is that much easier. Like,
Mhm.
so, and it's always a
Yeah.
work in progress. So, because I'm not
Mhm.
really, I don't by default have self-compassion, but I do try to develop it in me.
Yeah, no, I feel that too. That is definitely me, especially like this year. I just like developing that self compassion. I like what you said
Mhm.
of, you don't like denying like the whole anxiety or ignoring it. Like, okay, I
Mhm.
hear you, anxiety, but I am not going to tell. I'm not going to listen to what you're telling me to do, basically. Um,
Yeah, it's
so
just like, I get it. You're nervous. Let's just go for a walk. Let's just like chill
yes,
for a bit. And then,
yes, yes.
come back with this like later. Like talk to it like you're soothing a child or something. I think
Mm-hmm.
that's a good analogy.
Yeah, yeah, exactly. And then I was just like going into like just talking about anxiety and saying like I know we talked before, like anxiety is not the bad guy. Anxiety is more of like the antagonist. But like I really actually like anxiety. Anxiety is actually my favorite character because she is someone I can
Mm,
relate to. Um,
mm,
I think a lot of people hate her character. I've seen people who like her character, but I've also seen people who hate it. It's just like,
mm.
oh, she's annoying. Like, okay, do you know what anxiety is? But
It's
it's
who
just
she is.
that's what anxiety is. Um,
Hmm.
but also, I've seen people like say too, or I've seen things where it's just like she's like the villain, and obviously she's clearly not. She has these good intentions, and really, what she's
Mm,
literally trying to do, she's trying her best to protect Riley. That's just like the main thing. Like we saw, like at the end after the whole panic attack and like anxiety was just lying on like the ground. She was just like, "I'm sorry, Joy. I just wanted to protect Riley." Like that just hit deep because that's what my anxiety
mhm,
basically just wants. I mean, that's what my anxiety is trying to do. It's just trying to protect me.
mhm,
I know this is like an unpopular opinion, so that I'm about to bring up, but I know most people say anxiety is a liar, which is something I
mm,
understand. Um, but for some reason, I see it just a little bit differently. Like anxiety might be lying, but I don't think it realizes it's lying. Like I think it
oh no,
doesn't
it doesn't.
understand at all that what it's saying, it believes is true. It believes it's so
Mhm,
true that it's trying to protect you. And
mhm,
so, for example, with this podcast, beforehand, it was telling me these, I mean, lies that it thought it was true because things like that has kind of happened to me before in the past. Like why
mhm,
would I? Why did you say that, Mariah? Or you're confusing, or I can't understand you, and things like that. I had things like that happen before, and anxiety is taking things from the past and ignoring, I guess, positive things, basically taking those negative things and telling me this. Um and it's just believing that it's true, that it believes that stuff is true. It doesn't realize
mhm,
it's lying. And so the thing is, we have to show that we have to show more that anxiety, we have to prove our anxiety wrong. So how I moved past my anxiety is when I published this podcast. And after just the first episode, I've already got positive reviews, and my anxiety is like being quiet, like, see, anxiety. And anxiety is just
mhm.
like, okay, all right, I might be wrong. And now, since I'm on episode 7 now, just having anxiety with this podcast is, it's just quieter. I don't really hear that voice, that
Yeah.
negative voice, as much. My hair is negative voice still sometimes, but it's quieter
Mm,
than when before I first started. I mean, it's this is something new, when you try things new, it's very scary. But when I
mm,
showed my anxiety, like, okay, see, and kind of just proving it wrong, it's
yeah.
quieter now. Um,
Yes.
when Joy told anxiety that you need to let go of O'Reilly, that's the part that probably hurt me the most in the film, because I mean that's what I relate to the most. I mean that's why my anxiety. I mean that's why I have anxiety. It doesn't want to let go. It wants to be in control. It doesn't like the fact that it can't control everything. And that's the part that we just need to understand, that we're unable to control everything. And I know that's like not very easy to accept at all. I mean, it's just not. I'm not even quite sure if it's something I honestly could 100% honestly accept. It just is. But our anxiety. I got this quote from something. Our anxiety doesn't come from thinking about our future, but wanting to control it. And when you think, like I said before, how our life is not black or white, but in different shades of gray or different colors of the rainbow. Life doesn't go either very, 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 very like good, or very, 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 very terrible. There's all this stuff that is complex. Life is complicated and complex, and so are we. We are human beings, are very complex. So we will always hear that negative voice, and we will always have flaws. Like at the end of the movie, we saw basically um, all the emotions basically hugging Riley's sense of self, her embracing all her emotions, her embracing all her flaws and everything, her strengths, her flaws, everything. And that's something that we must do. We must embrace our own complexity and realize that we are just a person, and that's all it takes to be good enough. And that's what the ending of Inside Out 2 exemplifies. We need to embrace all of ourselves, both the good, the bad, the ugly, and know that just being here on this earth is us being enough. So I'll be quiet. I'll let you talk.
Yes, I completely agree. Could not have put it better myself. It might take you some time to come to that self-love and getting to that point where in your head where the emotions are hugging like your sense of self. But it is a good goal to strive towards because it does lead to more peace and resilience and happiness in our lives. And I really hope that if you're listening, if you as a listener are working on that and are close to embracing all parts of yourself, because life cannot just consist of good, it consists of bad as well. Life is full of good and bad moments, good and bad, or what people think might be bad emotions like sadness or anxiety that people don't like talking about, but who make they make us our human experiences and they make them more enriched that way too. So it's all a part of having a fulfilled human experience. So I think just embracing that is really a step to take.
So I think now I'll probably share my poem now, since I guess this is like the ending. I feel like it's just perfect since it's talking about rejection and anxiety, and that's what this whole episode is about. So this is something I made this week, and I've been dealing with a lot of rejections and stuff like that. And so I wrote this little short poem, and I hope you guys enjoy it. It's basically a short poem by me. So, rejections are 1,000 knives stabbing me constantly, but just one opportunity pulls out all the knives and heals all the wounds. And then I just have to tell myself at the end, keep going, you got this. And I'm telling y'all, keep going, y'all got this. So,
Yes, I love it. I love it. I love how you put it, and I love how you said keep going. I literally have like a note in the back here that says keep going, and it's kind of in the shot. It's like over here. Here you go. Sorry. So, yeah, just keep going. Life can suck, but you know, don't hyper fixate on the sucky moments, and allow yourself to feel joy, and you'll find that living in the moment will help you get through those sucky moments and maybe even lead you to personal and professional growth. That's how I say in my podcast too, like rejection is redirection and often can lead us to personal professional growth and to becoming the best version of ourselves, whatever whatever that is, because the best version of me is not the same as like your best version of you, and I think that's beautiful. So yeah,
mm-hmm,
keep
mm-hmm.
going and you'll be okay. Everything's okay.
Yay. Just wanna That's perfect. That's perfect. I love that so much. I think now since we're like towards the end, just like always ask everyone this, but do you have any projects or anything that you are working on that you'd like to share with us?
For my projects, so right now I'm working on the podcast. There's an episode 6. Today is a Saturday, and it should be coming out like today or tomorrow because I've been doing too long with this. And then I already have 2 other guests lined up, so we're gonna have definitely more episodes coming, where we talk about like rejection and how it can help us grow and what we can learn from it, but also make it okay, and for listeners like make the listeners see that it's okay to talk about your rejections, um, because they're part of our life, and that's kind of the message I'll keep spreading. I'm starting to have speaking initiatives. I did do a speaking event at the University of Calgary, which is the city I live in, as part of their mental health programming, and I talked about rejection and resilience and learning to grow from heartbreak. And hopefully more events like this will come in the future as well because it got really good reviews. So you'll see me on my social medias, and I'll be I'll be speaking, and I'll be making all those announcements, and yeah, and hopefully maybe Mariah, you can put in the show notes like my social media, and so people can, yeah, and so people can catch up with what I'm doing and be kept up to date. But that's where I'm at right now. And as for my career, I'm still figuring out what to do, but I know that I'm interested in mental health, psychology, entrepreneurship, and I'll be definitely exploring those fields.
Yeah, awesome. I was gonna ask at the end, like, where can we find you at?
Yes. So you can find me on LinkedIn if you just type in Valeria Rusnak. So just my full name, and you see there like written in my description, like host slash producer of the Rejected Pre-Med podcast. You can find me on Instagram at the rejected, no, at the underscore rejected pre-med underscore podcast. I think it's something like that, but I'll
No.
send it to you. Um, and I have a personal Instagram page as well with my name in it, Valeria Rusnak underscore 141 or something like that. And then I'll also send the podcast a link to you as well. But it's called the Rejected Pre-Med Podcast, and it's available on Apple, Spotify, and all those platforms wherever you listen to your podcast. It's probably there. So yeah, and I love to hear everyone's ideas and insights about what they can share, like if they like the specific episode or they have ideas about what they want to be covered in future episodes, or even if you want to be a guest speaker on my podcast, you can fill out the form, and it's all available on social media. Just check the links in the bio for Instagram, and most links are there.
Okay, thank you so much. That sounds really good. I'll share all your links and everything on the description so people can check you out and everything like that. But yeah, that's all we have for today. I want to just thank you so much again for coming on this podcast and dissecting anxiety's character and just talking about how she is not the bad guy at all. And just also just learning how to manage anxiety and rejections. Thank you so much for sharing your insight and everything like that. And I appreciate it.
Thanks so much, Mariah. You're an amazing host, and I really had a great time speaking to you about anxiety and our own personal experiences. I really am looking forward to this episode being out and for people to hear it.
Hey, if you listen to this entire episode, I just want to say thank you so much for listening to my podcast. You have no idea how much I appreciate it. And if you like what you heard, or you have your feedback or thoughts, please just leave them in the comments and ratings. I would appreciate it. Your feedback means everything to me. And if you want to keep up with more of what's going on with this podcast and know more about the life of Mariah, then follow me on the gram. That is at everything story mental health. But it's also in the description because I know that's a pretty long title. So again, thank you so much and have a wonderful week.